Please welcome Frankie, Boyle.
Hello and welcome to New World Order from Glasgow, where people have started to notice that the COP26 climate conference is happening because roads have started to close. Now the only legal way to travel around Glasgow is to form an orange walk. I hope that Greta Thunberg comes to Glasgow, has a look around and decides that the world isn't worth saving. Next week she's on Top Gear. If anything's going to be achieved at this conference, it's going to depend on mutual trust. And it's been held in a city where 60% of the chip shop salt shakers are chained to the counter. There's going to be climate protests, and good luck to those people, but I worry that in Glasgow it's going to be difficult to tell who's a protester and who isn't. Has someone glued themselves to the road? Or were they sniffing glue and fell over? The government are talking about reforms to deal with online hatred, and that's interesting to me, because I actually had to leave Twitter because of death threats. Lorraine Kelly just didn't seem to be reading them anymore. I actually left there because I found that there's jokes you can't do there anymore, and maybe shouldn't do there anymore. So I found this the day that Sean Connery died. I was one of the first people to read the news, because it happened quite early in the morning, and I thought of tweeting, they've shaken him and he's not stirred. Who needs that grief in their life? In other news, this week, thousands of suspected sex offenders had to report to police stations across Britain to start their shifts. Be interesting to see if that makes the edit, won't it? Rishi Sunak delivered the budget looking like a guy whose greatest desire in life is to be pegged by Thatcher's ghost. And doctors have warned that as well as COVID, this winter Britain might be facing a severe flu season. It's like we've tunnelled out of R. Kelly's house and emerged in Prince Andrew's basement. Okay, let's get on with the show. Joining me tonight to discuss the week's big topics are Miles Jupp, Sophie Duker and Ahir Shah. How are we doing, guys? Good week?
Excellent week. Yeah, half term. It's just about relaxing, isn't it?
What about you, Ahir? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. Sort of intrigued at the sheer distance between me and Miles. It feels like he's requested this.
I assumed you had, to be perfectly honest. I hadn't.
Anything caught your eye in the news this week, Sophie?
Did you see that video of Paul Scholes biting his daughter's toenails? He was sort of, I would say caught, but captured on Instagram by his daughter Alicia. And this is amazing because everything is wrong with this story. The fact that it happened, the fact that it was shared, and the caption, which Alicia put up as true love. When really the caption should have been help. It was amazing.
What was it shared on? Incestagram?
And there's loads of like memes and stuff obviously about him loving feet, and I just really hope it's just the first stage in a breakdown where eventually he'll just be squatting in a fish tank at a shopping centre.
First up, imagine voting for Keir Starmer. You probably don't know this, but Keir Starmer is the leader of the Labour Party. Basically, if the Labour Party was your pet dog, round about now you'd be telling your kids that the operation it needs costs exactly the same as a PlayStation 5. Keir Starmer is the worst leader since Gary Glitter. Look in his eyes and you can see that he knows that in a few years' time he's going to be quite a tricky tiebreaker in a pub quiz. There's nothing to work with there. You know what he's like? Remember about once a month someone would come on Ready Steady Cook, tip their bag out and go, there you go. 5 onions and a can of Fanta. Drink something with that. Keir Starmer is that without the Fanta. Joining us to discuss Labour's prospects, please welcome comedian Susie McCabe. How you doing, Susie?
I'm good, man. How are you?
You've been following the whole Labour shit show?
Ah, you just can't get away from it, can you? It's just a bin fire that people just keep putting cigarettes out and it just keeps going in fire. Just grim, man.
He just seems so overwhelmingly dull. He looks like his idea of spicy food is a cracked black pepper Rivita.
Frankie, that's what all white people look like to me.
I think dull probably lifts him up a bit and makes him sound a bit more vibrant than what he actually is. Do you know, we've all met a Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer is the guy that your mate introduces you to as their new boyfriend, and 2 weeks later they say, we had to split up. He kept crying during sex. And he gets turned on by crockery.
He always seems so incredibly indecisive, doesn't he? I always see him and I always think about how painfully slow it would be if you got stuck behind him at a buffet.
Is dull necessarily the worst thing? Because, you know, we can all agree that the guy's dull, but, I mean, the current Prime Minister is extremely exciting, and nearly 150,000 people are dead. So I sort of wouldn't mind dull for a bit.
Yeah. Exciting might be quite good in an election, though, mightn't it?
Yeah.
I think Starmer's at a point where you can say what you like about Jeremy Corbyn, but at least he had a good song. Like, he had a really good song. Like, if Starmer had a song, it would be by Phil Collins.
Do you think he genuinely has nothing to offer?
I don't think he really even has a politics. Okay, I don't think he really seems to believe terribly much, other than that possibly he could organise things a bit better. That's pretty much it.
I think he's the guy in your street that tries to organise a Jubilee party. While simultaneously asking everyone if they've got a peanut allergy. I think as well, part of his problem is he's a pretty intelligent guy, came from a very humble working class background who worked exceptionally hard to get to the top of his profession. British people hate that. You know, he makes stupid people feel stupid by asking them clever questions, where Boris makes stupid people feel clever by saying stupid things. He just needs to be stupid.
So Keir Starmer has a very clear vision for Britain, and that vision is to go out into Britain and ask people what they think his vision for Britain should be. Keir Starmer recently headed out eastwards to Ipswich. Here's some up-close and awkward footage from that pointless visit.
We're in Ipswich for 2 days. That's a really important thing. So I've come to Ipswich not to make a speech, not to preach to people, but to have lots of conversations. And here on the high street, talk to a number of businesses, of course, about how they survived during the pandemic. Lots of them glad to be back open. They've really struggled. Incredible stories. One of the stories we heard there is the young man we met who lost his job at the beginning of the pandemic, then started selling bread on Instagram, is now running the restaurant. So that's the spirit of Ipswich. My leadership is about putting my ideas out there, but also using these.
So this is a big part of his idea, that he just goes around local areas and explains to people who he is, like a sort of registered sex offender.
But is he doing this in lots of places to get his ideas, or is the whole thing going to be based on just these 2 days in Ipswich?
What was the statue behind him?
It was trying to claw its way back through time to strangle him or something.
I kept getting distracted by that as well. I was like, it looked like a creepy bishop or something, and I was like, how is a statue pulling focus in your speech?
I wanted him to put his cock and balls in the statue's hand and go, this is the spirit of Ipswich. With the poise and charisma of an unassembled shelving unit, Sir Keir Starmer seems bizarrely keen to put his awkwardness on public display. Here's the cardboard abomination taking the stage at an East Anglian bingo hall. captured for a posterity that doesn't exist in this local news report.
1, 2, 12, or 1 dozen.
It's sometimes said that politicians will do anything to get people to vote for them. And last night, the Labour leader was attempting to call the numbers at Buzz Bingo.
8 and 0. 88. Oh no, 88.
I was stopped in the street the other day by a Labour voter who said, "Do you know the difference between the Labour Party under Sir Keir Starmer and Jeremy Corbyn?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, the difference was that everybody knew who Jeremy Corbyn was. Nobody knows who Sir Keir Starmer is."
That is exactly why I've decided to do it differently and be here for 2 days in Ipswich.
It's very clear to lay down the 2 days in Ipswich thing as if he's quite purposefully building an alibi for something. and it was 2 days in Ipswich. 2 days in Ipswich, and I was there. I was there all the time. Check the footage. I was there the whole time.
Ask the people in the dress shop.
Even when I went into the fitting room, I wouldn't shut the curtain. They could see me. They could see me the whole time. 2 whole days in Ipswich. 2 whole days.
Anyway, unhampered by ideology or the chance of winning, Keir Starmer is keen to prove to Britain that he's more than just a human version of an out-of-office email. Here he is, flexing his political muscles in a brightly lit boxing gym.
I'm going to be wearing these promises. What do you think?
Do it for all of us.
Stand up. If I do that next time, I'm sitting on the bench like this, I get up, I'm just going to
Front foot forward like that, back foot forward like that. Our hands are up, and literally we just try and breathe out when we throw the shot. But yeah, this one first, and just try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again, that's it. And again, try and breathe. Relax.
I have to move back up.
I don't see it as a long-term replacement for Trident.
It just makes me angry how ineffective he is at absolutely everything. Like, there isn't a British person, living or dead, that couldn't hit a bag harder than that. And also, like, he set that up, presumably. Like, that's his press publicity stunt. That's his metaphor that he's failed at. Like, it's like asking someone to give you a spade and then just deep-throating it. He doesn't know. Just punch, just dig. He can't.
Can I just ask which end of the spade?
If you've time, you can do both.
It's almost like he didn't want to come across as too masculine. I don't want to be punching that too hard in case people think I'm a bit of a brute. No one is ever going to think that, Keir. I have slept with women who can punch harder than that. And that's just foreplay. So...
Well, there you go. Welcome to a 1,000-year Tory Reich. Our thanks to Susie McCabe.